As a county user, I have the ability to create a new appeal on behalf of the claimant. From my main dashboard, I can do this by hovering over Tracking Inbox, Appeal, and then clicking New Appeal. The first step to creating a new appeal is to identify the claimant. I'm going to click the Search Claimant button, and this will present me with a search option to search for existing claimants in the system. I can search for the claimant by first name, last name, email address if I have it, the existing county of residence, or perhaps an address. As you can see, my claimant doesn't currently exist in the system, so I'm going to have to create a new one. But if my claimant did exist, I would simply highlight the row of that claimant and then click Select Claimant. But in this example, I'm going to create a new claimant profile. I'll click the New Claimant button, and I'll be navigated to the main claimant page. I'm going to provide the first name, the last name of the claimant. If I have any additional information, such as aliases, any contact information that we'll see below, I would add that. But only the fields indicated with a red R are required to create the claimant profile. I'll select a date of birth. I'll then scroll down to the language information. As a default, English should be the selection, unless you're certain that the claimant has a specific foreign language requirement. If in fact the person does have a foreign language requirement, you can select that, identify if there is a known dialect, and also indicate whether or not an interpreter is needed at the hearing. In the contact information section, we would identify what the claimant's preferred mode of communication is. There are two options, which are the postal system, meaning the claimant will receive a hard copy of their notifications in the mail, or an email address. An email address only requires that the claimant has a valid email address. Next, I'll select the county of residence. This is important to indicate in the situation of an in-person hearing, where even if this claimant had an issue with a neighboring county, for example, Yolo County, if the claimant had an in-person hearing, State Hearings Division would know to schedule the hearing in Sacramento County because that is the county of residence of the claimant. I'll then provide the email address which has been required. And then I'll provide at the very bottom any special accommodations if I happen to know them. For instance, the claimant has a seeing eye dog or requires wheelchair access at the hearing location. I'll then click Save. The claimant's profile has now been created, and if I do the search, you can see that my claimant is available. I'll highlight the row, and then I'll click the Select Claimant button. My claimant has now been attached, and this claimant profile is available for any future appeals. I'll identify the filing date on my appeal. It is defaulted to today's date, but if in fact I received some written communication in the past, I can backdate the filing date as needed. I'll identify the type of hearing request. In this case, it was a written filing request. If I know the notice of action date, I can enter it here, but it is an optional field. And under the Issues section, I'm going to now categorize the type of issue for the claimant. I'll choose the top level category of CalFresh, and this will automatically populate different types of CalFresh subprograms. In this example, I'll choose that it was an eligibility issue. I'll then identify the responsible agency. In this example, it'll be Sacramento County. And then I'll provide a description from the claimant. If this is a verbal hearing request, I would reiterate the information that the claimant provided to me. If this is a written hearing request, I may just say, see written attachment. You can see that the communication preferences from the claimant's profile have been brought over automatically, but I still have the ability to change it if I need to. If the claimant indicated that he or she had a preferred hearing time, I can indicate it here either as morning or afternoon. This is not guaranteed, but it will be taken into account when the scheduling software places hearings onto the calendar. Next, I'll indicate the hearing modality. In this case, I'll select in person. And then I can indicate if the claimant requested an expedited hearing request. If I select yes, the reason is required. You can see that the special accommodations section was brought over from the claimant profile as well. I'll then click the Save button. The appeal has now been created, a case number has been assigned. The status of the appeal is in pending review, meaning that state hearings will do a final review prior to scheduling this appeal. You may remember that when I added my issue to the case, there was only one option available. If I need to add a second issue, I can hover over the Issue tab and click New Issue. For example, let's say I needed to also add a CalWorks issue to this hearing request. I'll select CalWorks as the program, choose the appropriate subcategory for the program, and then I'll provide an additional description here, which is required. I'll then click the Save button, and you can see that both my original CalFresh issue and my CalWorks issue have been added to the appeal.